Hey everybody, welcome to the Stack Your Points. This is the Monday edition, which is our Back to Basics segment. This is a section where we talk about all things basic credit cards, whether it is knowing what an introductory APR offer is, what are transfer partners and how do I access them, what rules does American Express have. All of this and more will be answered in this section. This is our weekly section, just getting those who are new to credit cards kind of up to speed.
Welcome to another episode of Stack Your Points. As always, I'm Matt Clausen from the Matt Clausen YouTube channel, joined this week by my co-host RJ from Do You Take Cards. RJ, how are you this evening?
I'm well, and I actually recorded a video for Do You Take Cards that will be out tomorrow morning, which is very exciting for me. It's been a little while. It took me a couple of months to twist Tariq's arm to make his channel so I could start recording on mine.
Our long national nightmare is over, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. Uh, Speaking of Tariq from Reeks for Words, how are you this evening?
I'm good. Aside from the sports fan in me, this weekend absolutely sucked. But I don't have to worry about that now because it's Monday and it's recording day. So I have upside now.
Yes, and you're not a Mets fan, so you don't have to live that life. And finally, we have our special guest for this week. It is Key from Kiki's Rewards. Key, how are you today?
Good, good. Thank you for having me and looking forward to the conversation.
Me as well. And Lonnie is on assignment this week, so we have Key filling in, and we're looking forward to her insights this week as well. So we're going to start this week with our Back to Basics segment, and Back to Basics is always our 30,000-foot view in the credit card world. Today's Back to Basics question is, when is the best time to get a new card, and what do you do once you get the card? There's a couple different ways we can answer this, and I'm going to turn it over to Key first to get her insights here.
Yeah, great question. My timing for getting a new credit card is really a couple times a year. I have some large expenses, so I really plan it around those really recurring charges that I have. And then part two, first thing I do upon getting the card is sign up for automatic payment, and that's the first thing I do.
Now, does that card become like your everything card until you hit the welcome offer, or do you take things in chunks? Like, how do you approach things, or does like utilization or the credit limit come into play at all?
No, I have a lot of credit cards in my portfolio, so I don't worry about the utilization aspect on one specific card. I know that definitely, if you have a thinner profile, that's definitely something you should worry about. But when we're talking about utilization, we're talking about your full collection of cards, not just one card in particular. So no, I don't worry about utilization at all. And then I also make sure that I'm putting everything on that card. But like I said, I'm playing it around large transactions that I have all the time, that are pretty recurring. So it shouldn't take me, unfortunately, it shouldn't take me too long to hit some of these minimum spends.
Certainly. Um, just looking for the perspective there. That makes sense. We'll go over to Tariq. Tariq, you've been collecting cards lately, like Pokemon. How was your approach to this back to basics?
So with my card acquisition strategy, I usually look at probably opening a card about like 2-ish weeks before I my rent, since I've said it probably 100 times on this podcast, rent spend is sub spend. Plus, with helping my girlfriend, letting me use her rent, it helps hit subs a lot quicker than I expected. So that usually is the first thing I'll do is open up after I get the card, obviously auto pay. After that, I will open built and then make sure that that card's linked to my built wallet just so I can make sure just to get the 250 points that come with paying rent. And then depending on the sign up bonus and how quickly I plan on hitting it, I'll usually throw like my car insurance on there. So I have like rent on the first, insurance on the second, and then probably just use it as like a catch-all card since I'll probably hit the majority of the spend with rent. So that's how my Hyatt business card has been lately. Just been kind of doing like miscellaneous catch-all, and like I said, once the first comes, I'll be probably just that much closer. I think I'll probably hit the sub realistically in, well, at least the first part of the sub, probably like November. But since it's a two-tier sub, I'm looking towards probably either late, early December or January. So we'll see how it goes. And then probably around December time, I'll be looking for my next card, which will be around the time that January's rent is done.
Doesn't make sense. When you do the build for that stack, do you just cycle the cards in and out on the app?
Yeah, I just cycle them. I'll just really just change it once the new card is done, and then usually with, because it's been every card that I've had, I think since May, since the Sapphire Preferred that I got, it's just been put the card up for built, hit the sub, move the next card, hit the sub, next card, next card. So just kind of keep it simple. Don't really touch it until it's time to get a new card. And then if I get to a point where I either just get the built card and put rent on there, or I happen to live at a built alliance property, so I can just use my checking account if I want to, but that'll be the move after that.
Makes sense. Just wanted to kind of look at that extra stack a little bit, just because it is a move that tends to get overlooked, especially yeah, you are paying that 3% fee, but if you're paying that 3% fee as part of a welcome offer, you're still going to get your 250 points. So that's always something to at least keep an eye out for. One other follow-up before I turn over to RJ. With the Hyatt card, are you currently using that with Built Neighborhood Dining to further expand, or are you just sticking with IHG and United?
So I haven't really been putting much dining spend on the card. I know it's the two Hyatt points per dollar whenever on like two top categories, and I can't even tell you like off the top of my head what the categories are. I've mostly just been using it as a catch-all card, just instead of my Ink Unlimited, since that's one, at least for the time being, until I finish the sub. Ink Unlimited is on the sock drawer. So any miscellaneous purchase that I would have put on like the Ink Unlimited, or at the time my IHG business, it's just been that. And then just been using like my Sapphire Preferred for United mileage plus dining, or if I decide to start earning more IHG points, I'll pull out my Premier Business and start using that IHG Dine and Earn. So really, I just haven't figured it's just be the catch-all card of choice, rent catch-all, and then insurance. So yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Was just curious, since the Hyatt, when you there's no Hyatt dining or Hyatt shopping, but you could attach it to like built dining just to keep the same restaurants and add some extra spend. But uh just curious. So thanks, Tariq. And RJ, your thoughts on when is the best time to get a new card? And what do you do once you get that card?
So it sort of depends on life events. Like we have been renovating my house for 2.5 months, and that is an expensive process, right? Like I, you know, I've opened 3 cards to hit subs during this process because we had the money in the bank, but if I can open a card to hit a sub and I, already have the money, it makes a lot of sense. So if you're doing a big project like that, you might be able to, depending on your credit profile, hit a couple of subs during that. Outside of the renovations or a major project like that, you know, I look for elevated offers. I want a Hilton card. There's an elevated Hilton offer right now. Before the end of the year, I will very likely apply for the Hilton business to get that elevated offer. If there wasn't an elevated offer, I'm less likely to apply for that card, even though I want a Hilton card, I might delay that for a couple of months. So looking at things like that, or if there's a new perk added to a card, it might bump it up the list. So you sort of have to keep a little bit plugged in to see what's going on sort of in the wider credit card market. If you know that a card might lose a partner or gain a partner, that also can influence when you get a new card. And obviously auto pay everything. I also pretty much immediately add it to my Apple Pay. And that way I always have that card with me, whether I physically have my wallet. And even I use a lot of Amex. Amex will give you that card immediately, which means that I can add it to my Apple Wallet before I physically even get the card in the mail, which means if I go out, if I'm doing something, if I'm running somewhere, I can start hitting that sub. That has not been a problem for me lately with the Reno, but every little bit helps when you're working on it, because you also don't want to just the first thing you put on a card as a $10,000 charge, because that can trigger a bunch of things. So doing some smaller charges so there's activity before you do that giant purchase can also help you not have to call the fraud department of your credit card, which is not a fun conversation, even if you have done nothing wrong, because they don't like when you have to call in, even if you have done nothing wrong. So, doing a couple of little things like that. But yeah, I think just because you want to is not a bad answer, but it's also maybe not the best answer for your long-term financial health, as sort of a counterpoint to the I want to. Or the card looks pretty. Also not a great reason to open a credit card.
Oh,
I
come
love
on.
that. I love that you added to Apple Pay or mobile wallet or Google Wallet, whatever. I think that's often overlooked. Excuse me. Um, may I ask, like, how often you're using your digital wallet versus the actual card?
So I work from home, so most of what I buy during the week is online. So if there is that an Apple Pay option online, I do it. I also add it to Rakuten because I can get MR points. And if I can get Chase points and MR points at the same time, why not, right? So it goes into there, it goes in the digital wallet. When I leave my house, the times that I do leave my house during the week, probably 90% of what I'm doing is through Apple Pay or through some version like that. So I'm the US Altitude Reserve is on the list of cards to get once I get my velocity down into a place where US Bank will very lovingly give me a card that I'm gonna spend almost a year trying to get from them. So we'll see. But yeah, I use digital wallets and sort of Apple Pay a lot. So I went 3 years just having the Apple Card as my primary credit card. So I am very, very in touch with using Apple Pay in general. So that habit got trained into me. So using it is just sort of what's going to happen. I don't even reach for my physical wallet until I know that they won't take a digital form.
No, the Apple Pay Play, definitely something to take into account. I try to do that when I get a new card, but it is usually 2 or 3 weeks into the process, unless I have a way to do it when I get approved for the card, because there are issuers that will give me that option, or if I take the time as soon as I activate the card, if I remember to do it then. Otherwise, I wait like a week or two upon getting it, and then I'll remember to add it to Apple Pay. Um, Typically for me, my approach with this one is my best time to add a new card typically is when I expect that there's going to be a large purchase, or there's an elevated offer. I was recently reached out to by American Express about setting up the Blue Business Plus for myself, and I was going to give them the brush off until I said, just out of curiosity, what is the current welcome offer for this card? Because like I know publicly it's 15,000 points, and I wasn't about to tell the guy, and I'm not about that right now. It was more just, tell me that I'm only getting the public offer, and I can wrap this conversation up. And when he said, looking at your profile, I've got an offer here that says, 25,000 membership reward points on 3,000 spend in 3 months. I was like, okay, I can make 3,000 spend in 3 months happen. I thought I would have a major purchase. Turns out there's some other bigger purchases that have come up instead. New iPhone, car repair, things like that, that have put me on the path to being like more than 2/3 of the way through that welcome offer already. Um, but I also made what can always be a tripped up mistake of I'm also working the in cash welcome offer, but I got the 6 month offer on that one, so I have more time to finish that. Um, Conversely, I don't usually set up auto pay just because I want to make sure when I know when that first um statement balance closes, and then I go about like making sure that I know when the payment date is. And if it's a card that I'm working a 0% on, I'm just going to set it to the minimum. And if it's a card that I don't have a 0% option, then I'm going to make sure that I put that full statement balance on that and just set up on that first day that the statement closes to set it up to auto pay, not auto pay, set it up to pay immediately. But I am in my finance apps literally every day, three to five times a day. It's a little unhealthy, but I go into the American Express app. Is that scheduled to pay? Yes, cool. I'll pop over to another app. Is that scheduled to pay? Yes, cool. Is this card set up to pay? No, but I have a very good reason why I'm not setting it up to pay yet. So I just have to keep reminding myself to go back in there and do that. Now, setting up auto pay would make more sense. Setting up auto pay to at least do the minimum payment the day after your statement closes, just so that you have that minimum payment taken care of, is something you can do. But then you have to remember to go back and pay the full balance. So maybe not the best play.
You know what is great, Matt, and something that might help you? You can make a calendar that's only when your auto pays come out. And you can set it to give you a reminder 3 days before, a week before, 2 weeks before, and it will help you. I have like two calendars. One is specifically when those auto purchases come out, like when my loans are due for student loans, when my major like Apple stuff is due, all of that. That's one calendar, and that's in one shade of green. And then the auto pays are in another shade of green that is different enough I can tell the difference between the two. And that's when the auto pays for all of my credit cards come out. That way, I know what's happening, and I don't like I still go into the all of the apps every day because also slightly obsessive, but I have the calendar so I could just take a peek at my Fantastical, and it tells me when everything's happening, and I can just scroll through and be like, "Oh, cool. The Amex Platinum is coming out, and I have bought no plane tickets, so I have no reason to use this card right now, so there's no balance." So that might help you in remembering to do things. Just a thought.
Definitely thought. I also have payment due dates. I have a lot of them around the same time. So my X1 card and my Hilton card are the same day. The X1 card is a terrible card. I know. I'm going to close it at some point as soon as I figure out, the rest of picking up the balance of the 25,000 on it so that I can get rid of it.
I'm glad you said it.
That it's a terrible card.
Correct.
Yes. Yes. Don't fall for credit cards that have nifty social media marketing. So that card and my Hilton card are the same date. I know that I set up my active cash and my autograph when that was my only setup. I set those to be the same day. Also that week is my Attune card and my Sapphire Reserve. So that week I know I've got to get all four of those cards taken care of. It's not a system per se, but I at least know when my payment dates are due. And I always just try to make sure that I've got everything lined up as early as I can.
For the listeners, please know you can change your payment dates to the day roughly that you want to pay it. It's not like infinite. You can't pick any day in the month, but you have a pretty wide range of when you can pick. I don't have anything that duplicates on any one day because I'm a sane person. Okay, I take that back. I am a more sane person than what Matt has done. So just know if you're new to credit cards and you don't want all your payments on the same, or maybe you do, maybe you get paid in a way where it's convenient to have everything come out the same day. You can make that choice. It's as simple as going into the app and tapping like 3 buttons. So just know there are options, dear listener. There are options that is not Matt's insanity or my obsessiveness. There are options.
There definitely are. Do as I say, not as I do on this particular one, because how I have avoided late fees is a minor miracle. But I have. So there we go. My system is not for anyone else. I'm going to put that out there right now. But if you have a more organized system, that works too. We can do a back to basics on like optimal times to pay, or setting everything up in a way that you can not live my life of insanity.
Trust the process of autopay. I don't know if I'm the only one that sets it up one time and I don't look throughout the month. I just know it's gonna work. But that's just me personally. But yeah, just set it up and forget it.
Yeah, I have a mix. I set up all my auto pay, and part of me is just like, F it, we ball. And just, I know they're going to hit. But then other times I'm looking at the app and I'm like, okay, auto pay is going to hit this day. Just checking when the due date is. So I go through a mix of both, which I don't know why. Maybe I need help.
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy to say. If you've got a big purchase coming up, definitely look for an elevated offer. Try and get those two taken care of at the same time. Tax season is also another big time for certain folks. If you do have a large tax bill that you can knock out, American Express Business Gold or an American Express Business Platinum welcome offer, more power to you. I weep at the thought of spending that much in taxes, but I would also very much like to be in that position in life. So yeah. And then once you get it, auto pay is a good idea. Apple Wallet's a good idea. And then setting it up as either your catch-all if you're working on an elevated offer, or knocking out that big purchase as quickly as possible to get that welcome offer. All sounds like a good way to put things. So that'll do it for Back to Basics this week. But that's going to do it for this episode of Stack Your Points. If you like what we do, hit the like and subscribe button down below on YouTube. If you are listening to us on your podcatcher of choice, please give us 5 stars, whether that is Apple Podcasts, Audible, Pocket Cast, Icecast, Overcast, Dreamcast, maybe. But give us 5 stars nonetheless. We will talk to you next week. Thanks for listening and watching.